Good evening. This is Renato Jr. Langora Rugal, and tonight I'll be reviewing a topic that has true experimental design and how it was used in this topic. So, this one is an action video games training that improves text reading accuracy, rate, and comprehension in children with dyslexia, a randomized controlled trial. And this studied by Jessica L. Peters, Sheila Kruter, Melanie J. Murphy, and Edith L. Babin. So basically, we will try to cover about the research, methodology, result, and conclusion. Just to give you a little idea or short recap about the true experimental research design, this one has always been said the most accurate type of experimental research because it supports or refutes a hypothesis using statistical analysis. And this provides a cause and effect relationship that could give strong validity in internal and external outcome. There are three criteria for you to consider that this one is using a true experimental research design. Number one, there should be an experimental group and there should be a comparable or control group. Second, the researcher should have the opportunity to manipulate independent variable while the dependent variable is existing. Third, all the subjects or the audience should be selected randomly. This topic is focused on action video game training or AVG training. This is a new developing research for intervening dyslexia, or as what other researchers believe, this topic, the AVG training, is a promising intervention for dyslexia. So what is AVG training? AVG training interventions are fast-paced, highly sensory motor, rich in cognitive load, enhance rapid motor responses with unpredictable and fast-moving stimuli, and ensures the focused attention rather than distributed attentions. This also provides enriching experiences that keeps children's driving force to continue. And ABG training play an essential role for neglected and untreated dyslexic children, especially this pandemic, where all the schools are bound by strict compliance to the government and following safety protocols against the COVID-19 pandemic. Though many findings of this kind of research have tested and proven the efficacy of the ABG training, such as to the improvement of reading rate and comprehension, which has been shown to be the most stable and reliable index of dyslexia across both age and orthography. But there's still a need of study that focus on increasing the demands on dynamic visual focus through eye movements. So one option is to investigate whether the efficacy could simply be enhanced by increasing the attentional demands by a further reliance on eye movements that shift and direct attention, or placing much greater demand on attentional flexibility and planning. As support, the study investigated the AVG's intervention specifically to increasing of demands of active attention to eye movement with 5 hours, 10 sessions, um, 30 minutes per training. and they selected 64 dyslexic students of Melbourne Metropolitan Primary School. There were groups. The first one is the regular action video games training, or AVG-R, with a number of 22 participants, and the other group is enhanced action video game, or AVG plus R, with a number of 23 participants, and they were compared to as usual treatments school-based comparable group with a number of 19 participants. Standard of finding an audience to this topic. There were qualifications made. Number one, the subject should have the school's recommendation. Number two, the subject should experience or receive diagnosis to be administered by the research team. Number three, there should have parent reported history of the child, especially in reading difficulties, and that will also serve as a consent from the parent. And number four, or lastly, the latest performance based on the York assessment, or York assessment reading comprehension, will be gathered. And preparing to this kind of training was not easy, because there were 2 weeks preparation where the subject was just staying in their homes without receiving any information about the training, and also they were randomly selected using random number generator. And another preparation, they were undergone to 9-point calibration procedures, where the participants followed this kind of procedures using the Gaze Point Fruit Ninja programming interface and GP3 HD higher definition screen mounted camera with 150 Hz sampling rate. And later you will understand why they need this. Onset of training, subjects were placed in 3 entirely separated rooms. So the first group, AVG-R group, or the regular action video games group, they received a standard computer mouse to control the cursor on the screen, while the AVG plus R group, or the enhanced action video game group, they will be using their eye movements to control the cursor on the screen. And their eye movements were all translated into a cursor movement. And the other group, the comparable group, will just experience as usual treatment school-based remediation. So with a total of 12 days, they will be doing this 30 minutes per session. And aside from slicing all moving and unpredictable special fruits on the screen, subjects can also use garnered points to currency and use that currency to access upgraded ninja tools. Pre-test and post-test were also administered before and between this training. So at the end, after the training, all the groups, including the comparable group who received formal as usual treatments reading remediation, they will be finishing cognitive and reading assessment tools. Results show that AVG-R, or regular action video games group, as much as the AVG plus R, or the enhanced action video games group, significantly perform improvements on text reading accuracy, rapid naming performance, comprehension, highest gains in low contrast for magnocellular temporal processing, and also proved that it received less fixation. While comparing groups, the comparable groups showed low expected performance. In conclusion, although the studies have proven ABG's training with increased active attention via eye movements as a leading intervention, more focused reading improvements, we shall consider the following studies, especially about the application in clinical and school settings. Also, if possible, it should highlight the motivational engagement of the readers in the efficacy of the ABG's training. Thank you so much for listening and following me in this topic review. For more information, I'm gonna give you this topic and I will let you to go deeper as well. But going back to the three criteria that I've mentioned earlier, there are three criteria in identifying whether the topic or the research is having a true experimental research design. Number one, again, it should have um, experimental group and comparable group. In this topic, we have the ABG minus R, the regular group, and the ABG plus R, the enhanced ABG group. And we also have comparable group, that is those groups that receive as usual treatment school-based remedial. Second criteria, the researchers should have the opportunity to manipulate the independent variable while the dependent variable is existing. In this topic, we also have the ABG minus R, they use independent variable, the mouse, and the monitor, the mouse using the cursor on the screen. And we also have independent variable to the ABG plus R, the enhanced ABG group, that is the use of their eye movements that was translated into a cursor movement. And we also have variable uses the independent variable to the comparable group, that is they are those who receive remedial during also the training. Last one, there should have a random selection. So in this topic, before the training was administered, all the subjects were randomly selected through the random generator. So